How do we know what human nature is? Simply what drives human beings to do the things that they do. Now, once we understand what human beings do, then we can build moral systems on top of them. For example, we derive political, economic, and ethical systems, yet these systems crash when they conflict with human nature. What is the point of labeling something good or evil if we don't even understand what human nature is? What's the point of building an economical system when we don't understand what human nature is and it goes against it and crashes? We need to correctly understand human nature, and then we can decide how to best build systems that work with us. Therefore, we need a descriptive model of human nature. What is? Something that contains zero prescriptive or normative elements, so no oughts or moral claims. Human nature is based on various internal value vectors. We balance these value vectors in a value vector network. The majority of value vectors can fall under four value vector sets. When value vectors align between actors, a contract is formed to protect and advance those mutual interests. This is called modern pragmatic contract theory. Asking why we should care about the network is like asking why a fish should care about water, or asking why a lung should care about oxygen. The theory predicts that any human or group that genuinely stops caring about balancing these vectors is automatically deselected by reality. So let me explain what I mean. If an actor ignores their material vector set, they starve. If they ignore their social set, the tribe casts them out or liquidates them. If they ignore their genetic set, their lineage ends. If they ignore their neurochemical set, they are driven to suicide. Now, the overwhelming majority of value vectors can fall under the following vector sets. Crucially, while these sets are universal drivers of the species, the internal weighing of these value vectors varies between individuals based on biological and environmental calibration. But regardless of how an individual's network is calibrated, the general rule remains absolute. These are the vectors that drive human nature. Is this nihilist? Standard nihilism usually leads to fatalism. Nothing matters, there are no rules, so I can do whatever I want. This theory says the exact opposite. It says you absolutely cannot do whatever you want because the consequences of the network are objective, brutal, and unyielding. Proponents of objective morality will then say, well, this all boils down to your preferences. If you prefer to increase your material vector by stealing and corruption, what makes your preference any better than anyone else's? And I'm not saying my preference is better than yours. I am saying if you prefer stealing and corruption, you can create a crash in your value vector network. As an example, you are burning your social vector to chase a short-term spike in your material vector. It's an inherently unstable equation. The value vector network backed by pragmatic contracts always forces a correction. If a soldier jumps on a live grenade to save his platoon, he is completely destroying his own survival. If you claim that he did that just to satisfy an internal vector, your theory is a circular trap. It's unfalsifiable because no matter what a human does, you just claim a vector made them do it or because of self-interest. Now, MPCT does not use subjective moral labels like self-interest, selfish, or altruistic. It tracks a multi-dimensional value vector network operating in reality. Swapping the words self-interest or ego for value vectors does not simply equate to a semantic trick. It's an attempt to make the theory falsifiable. While we currently lack the neurological technology to isolate and weigh these internal vectors in real time, MPCT makes concrete, testable claims. It remains to be seen if in a future state, once neurological tracking technology can catch up to the model. The morally superior individual, engaging in high visibility, public activism, and virtue signaling, pretending to care or even believing that they deeply care about all sorts of nice and fluffy social issues because they're such a good person, the actor expends energy on public signaling to capture massive high-value returns in their social vector set, securing tribal protection and social leverage. Split-second combat sacrifice. When a soldier throws their body onto an explosive device to shield squad members, the brain completely lacks the processing time for standard vector balancing. Instead, the value vector network undergoes an immediate asymmetrical system override driven by ancient evolutionary software. Because our ancestral firmware developed in close-knit tribes where proximity equaled kinship, the threat fires a proxy trigger that instantly spikes the social and genetic sets to near infinite magnitude. Thank you for watching.